What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange here, and today I'll be going through my top Week 12 waivers, players at the quarterback, tight end, and defensive positions that, if you're in a pinch, you're facing bye weeks, potential injuries, can help get you over the top into your Week 12 matchups. Again, playoff push is coming. You guys need to secure your spots. If you're weak at quarterback, if you're weak at tight end, if you're weak at defense, I can help you out with potential streaming options for your guys' lineups to secure the dub. And of course, if you enjoy this type of content and are interested in more, make sure you leave a like down below. Let's try to get this video to over 100 likes. And of course, comment your favorite streaming option down below, whether it's somebody that's already on this video or whether it's somebody available in your league that you think can have a very good week going into week 12. But before we get into it, as always, got to hit the intro. And as you guys know, I try to keep this as rapid fire as possible, try to get this in that 7 to 10 minute range, very digestible, very quick information. Let's start off with the quarterback position. Number one thing I have to quickly mention before I get to my three options this week, if Deshaun Watson is available still in your league, he is expected back next week. Make sure you go pick him up and stash him right now while the fab dollars are cheap. Because by next week, once everybody knows he's going to be willing to play, obviously that top 5 to 10 level expectation once he returns to that Cleveland Browns lineup, he's going to be worth a lot more fab. So if you can pick him up, if you can stash him this week, obviously you can't play him because he's not actually active. That would be your best option long term. If you lost a guy like Trey Lance going into the year, or your quarterback right now, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, whatever you have isn't really getting it done. Deshaun Watson could be your long-term fix for the rest of the season. But now let's get into the official three for this week. Number one streamer of the week is going to be Marcus Mariota, quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, going up on the road against the Washington Commanders. And it's pretty simple with Mariota. He's the quarterback 9 in fantasy football right now and adds 5.6 fantasy points per game through his legs. Obviously, we know the Konami code factor, the leg factor, the athletic factor that Marcus Mariota brings to your lineup. He's classified as a waiver due to the low ownership he has on Yahoo Fantasy Sports, but he's actually been a solid quarterback 1-2 type throughout the whole year. And as we know, he's a volatile play, no doubt in my mind, but the ceiling with his rushing ability that he brings on a week-to-week basis gives him a solid baseline for fantasy points. So if he's available, definitely don't mind streaming him as a fringe top 15 level quarterback option this week. I also don't mind streaming Ryan Tannehill, quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, going up to play the Cincinnati Bengals at home. And he's quietly improved his passing volume these past 2 weeks, about 31.5 passing attempts per game since returning from that injury a few weeks ago. And he's playing his best football of the year. He's relying heavily on that play action dominant passing attack, and now finally gets his most talented wide receiver, Treylon Burks, fully reacclimated to this offense, coming off a game where he showed a ton of promise. Talking about Burks, 8 targets, 7 receptions, really showed that he could be that alpha wide receiver commander of targets in this Titans receiving core. And as soon as the snaps go up, that is going to benefit Ryan Tannehill to the highest degree. I get it. Cincinnati is a very tough defense, but I think this game profiles to be higher scoring than it's being labeled right now. We know that Cincinnati can score points on the other end, but I do expect Tannehill and Burks to keep building the rapport and give Tennessee versatility on offense past the, give Henry the ball offense that they were operating on basically all year prior to the last few weeks. So definitely like Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, he's a very good real-life quarterback, top 15 level quarterback in the league. If this passing volume could go up, if Treylon Burks keeps emerging, I think he can be a long-term quarterback 2 option for the rest of the year. And then finally, Matt Ryan, quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. He should be available in your league after a disappointing statistical output performance against that elite Philadelphia defense. But Matt Ryan has quietly played some very efficient ball in recent weeks. As we know, Pittsburgh defense has looked like a different beast since TJ Watt returned to the lineup. I would tread pretty cautiously, but again, I'm trusting Matt Ryan. I'm trusting the Colts to pick up where they left off a couple weeks ago in that dominant performance against the Vegas team. You should have a better option if you're in a one quarterback league. Again, you're probably going to have somebody owned in more than 50% of leagues. But if you are in a dire position, if you have Justin Fields and he just got hurt and you have nobody else available on your wire because everybody else has 2 quarterbacks, I think Matt Ryan is set to bounce back in a big way. 357 passing attempts in his first 9 games started, aka roughly 40 passing attempts per game. Gives him a great baseline based off that passing volume. As long as he's not shut out again in that pass touchdown department, I expect him to finish somewhere in that 15 to 20 fantasy point range this week. Going on to the tight end position, we have the number one streamer being Greg Dulcich, tight end of the Denver Broncos, going up on the road against the Carolina Panthers. He garnered 85.7% of the team routes this past week, and as we know, he is a young, talented tight end who finally has his opportunity to shine. I think it could be this year's Pat Freiermuth, the good, young, athletic tight end showing flashes in his rookie season. As we know, the offense isn't very great, but he's proven that he could be that safety blanket for Russ. 5.2 targets per game in his last 5 games as a rookie. I expect that to keep improving down the stretch, that volume to keep improving down the stretch for the talented young rookie tight end. So I definitely like him as a start this week going up against that Carolina defense. 2 option this week is going to be Evan Ingram, tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars, going up to play the Baltimore Ravens at home. And similar to Greg Dulcich, I mentioned the 5.2 targets per game for Dulcich. Evan Ingram has a ton of volume too. 5.1 targets per game this year, including about 6 per game since week 5. This Jaguars offense, for the most part, as you know, if you've watched them, kind of been a hit or miss unit at times. Trevor Lawrence has improved his play dramatically in recent weeks, and outside of Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne, offense truly lacks playmakers in the receiving game, and I think Evan Ingram would fill in as their next guy after Etienne and after Kirk. Profile says, that fringe top 15 level tight end each week, and given how banged up the tight end landscape currently is, he probably needs to be owned in the majority of your guys' leagues. And then finally, my number 3 streamer at tight end is going to be Cade Otton, rookie tight end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going up on the road to play the Cleveland Browns. He has a very similar case to Dulcich, that talented young tight end on an offense that's starting to find its rhythm with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's coming off his bye week, which we historically see down the stretch that rookies coming off their bye week typically see a bump in production, especially in that respective offense. And if Tampa Bay is going to start scoring again, if Tampa Bay is going to keep finding their groove on offense, I think Cade Otton can be an integral part of that equation. So like the same when it comes to Otton with what I mentioned with Dulcich, only you're getting that potential scoring opportunity with an offense in Tampa Bay that has upside versus the offense over there with Denver. So definitely like Cade Otton this week, especially against a Cleveland defense that realistically hasn't been able to stop a nosebleed. Finally, we move on to the defensive units, the DSTs, and my number 1 stream period is going to be the Miami Dolphins playing at home against the Houston Texans. Recent news of Houston turning the reins over to Kyle Allen to start as their starting quarterback this week. They already had a 16-point implied team total, but that's now about to get even uglier. While the Dolphins haven't been, world beaters defensively in their own right, it is easily one of the bottom 3 offenses in the NFL, and now especially with Allen started, could be in a lot of trouble. Like the Dolphins offense to take care of business early, and for this Dolphins defense to be in a ton of obvious passing situations, which, as we know in fantasy football, presents a ton of opportunity at sacks and potential turnovers in this game. Number 2 defense is going to be the New York Jets going up to play the Chicago Bears at home. And the Jets have quietly been one of the top 5 to 10 defense in the entire NFL. We're going up against a Bears offense that could potentially be without their starting quarterback, Justin Fields. Recent reports, he's dealing with that shoulder AC joint. It'd be in Chicago's best interest to rest him for the rest of the year, tank that pick, get a high pick. So I do not expect Justin Fields to suit up in this game. Bears only have a 17.5 implied team total right now. But if Fields were to get ruled out for this game, I'd be extremely shocked if they scored over 14 points against ferocious Jets defense. And as we know with the Jets, they have to lock down on the back end to give them a chance to win every single week, given how much the offense has struggled. I don't expect them to let off against the Chicago offense. I expect a ton of sacks. I expect, maybe Sauce Gardner gets a pick in this game. I expect a ton of chaos being brought to Chicago by this Jets defense. And then finally, my number 3 stream of the week is going to be the Indianapolis Colts going up to play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. Steelers have an 18.5 implied team total in this game. And prior to this week, they had not scored over 20 points in a single game since week 1. Expect this Indy defense to get going after holding their own against that strong Philadelphia offense this past week, only held them to 17 points. Given that Matt Ryan, of course, is one of my quarterback streams and Indy is a streaming defense, you'd be right to assume that I like their chances in this game. I think Indianapolis is going to take that game on Monday Night Football. But either way, if you stuck around all video, and of course, if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like down below. Again, 100 likes is the goal for this video. And of course, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers as always. Appreciate you guys for that continued support. Let's try to get there by the end of the year. But of course, comment your favorite streamer down below. Until then, take care. Good luck in your matchups.
Wire me the money.